I want to start in that general sense of what they want to do by moving the offensive system. And what's interesting to me is, so for those at home, they dump a fullback. They played with a fullback last year. And the Pats were the last holdout where when you would go through some of their advanced numbers of where they were running the ball, they still used the A-gaps as their main target point, right? It was lead. It was the most basic stuff you could run. They still felt you could just punch things through the A-gap. And this in a world where defenses are moving to everything's about the B-gap bubble, right? We're playing with bare fronts. So it almost felt like a nice zig against the rest of the league. Now they say we want to be a move offense. They are more consistently moving the target point. That's where the emphasis on the wide zone is they want to be a movement-based offense where they're slashing and kicking more with the running back and where they can move the pocket a bit more, where they feel like they can help Jones. So I guess the thing for me is that the best way to use Mac Jones? And is that the best way to shift your system when the whole league is evolving to try and take away a whole bunch of that stuff? Where is the heavy RPO stuff from Alabama? Why did they not just pick up more of that from the gun, read it and get rid of it stuff that he had at Alabama? Why are they unnecessarily complicating it for a guy in year two?
Yeah, those are all great questions. And, it seems very un-Belichickian because I remember 3 years ago, as we've seen this sort of move league-wide to athleticism, speed, kick and slash and things like that in the run game. Outside zone, wide zone, getting guys in space, the move to the bare fronts, the move to almost sort of the Iowa State, 3 safety defense, right? Where you're trying to push everything to the outside and then let speed take over. A lot of people, myself included, and I know you've delved into this as well, thought Belichick's going to go completely the other direction, right? He's going to stay heavy I formation. You might see flex bowling from him. You might see triple option. Like, he's going to get heavy. He's going to stick with fullbacks. He's going to go in the absolute, because that's what Belichick and the Patriots have done over the years, right? Exploit market inefficiencies. If everybody's getting fast and light and trying to emphasize the edges, he's going to go the other direction, go heavy, pound you on the A-gaps, like you said. So this move away from that idea is curious because it's un-Belichickian. It could be a nod in a sense to questions they have at the receiver room, right? One of the benefits of sort of that McVay-Shanahan tree, condensed formations, bunches, and things like that is you might manufacture separations. Watching this offense right now, when guys are sort of spread out and asked to win one-on-ones, they're not really doing it. Like, Devontae Parker isn't really doing it right now, at least on film. Tyquan Thornton had some moments. Now he's out with a collarbone injury. Jacoby Myers and some of these other guys, it's more separation by scheme, and this might be a nod to that. But, of course, the way you framed it is the ultimate question. Is this the right offense for Mac Jones? Can he run boot action? Can he run wide zone and move the pocket? Sure. Is it like top 2, 3 offensive systems that I'd want to see Mac Jones in? No, it's not. Like, I'd rather see him more spread, more quick game, getting the ball out, gripping it and ripping it from the pocket, 3-step, 5-step stuff, 1-step gun stuff. The RPO stuff is a very curious question because he ran a ton of it at Alabama. The numbers speak for themselves. And what's even more curious about that, when they went RPO or when they went play action at Alabama, a lot of the stuff they did was to attack downfield. He would go play action and attack you downfield. He was very comfortable doing that. For an offense that needs to generate explosive plays, for an offense that faces so many questions about can you get the ball downfield, why not cater to that? Maybe they're going to try to do this in this new system, but when you have protection woes, when you have a system that maybe it's not the ideal fit for the quarterback, it's just raising more questions than answers.
And the thing for me is, if you're going to play that style, it just feels 2 years too late to make that switch. I mean, it's still a great offense by design, but you just almost all offenses are good by design unless you're Ben McAdoo, right?
Right.
It's just getting on the right evolutionary timetable of the league, and it just feels like, really, guys, maybe you should have done this year and then moved to last year's offense this year. And that is the strange thing to me. I have a more macro discussion I wanted to have with you about Jones in general, that archetype of quarterback. Now, he's more mobile, as everyone says, than he's often given credit for. He's kind of the new style of what would be a Brady-esque quarterback. But it's how much can you win in 2022 with a hit the back foot, get the ball out quarterback who is not Tom Brady, right? I saw Ben Fennell today posted these unbelievable the quarterback landmarks from the guys in the championship games, the guys who made it to the 4 championship games last year, and all the other 3 guys. It's all over the field, right? These are all off-script creators. It's You run on down the line, and Josh Allen, Mahomes, those guys can make plays outside the pocket. Brady's is right in line. It's between the two guards. That guy does not move. That's the greatest of all time, right? So how replicable is it for you to say, can Mac Jones play that way in 2022? And then you get to the question of, well, can Mac Jones in that setup be a second phase quarterback by undulating and moving in the pocket, which I think is actually a strength of his? And how much of it is it rolling and moving? I'd rather just put him in the gun and say, hey, man, you don't have to move outside from the tackles. It can be stick, slide, climb, and just maneuver yourself in there. We don't really have to roll you just to try and get some movement into the offense.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is something the Patriots fans have sort of discussed, and the New England media has worked through last season when they drafted him, this season now with this sort of offensive emphasis is, in today's NFL, can the more pocket quarterback still win? It's a fascinating question. I'd be curious to see that same graph from Ben, which is fantastic, from last season, because I think the model that Patriots fans are kind of handing their hand on right now is Joe Burrow. He's similar. I think he's probably a tiny bit more athletic than Mac Jones, but he's not Mahomes. He's not Allen. Like, he's somebody that, he can create a little bit with his legs, but, they're not running that kind of offense for him. They're going empty. They're going 5 wide. They're letting him pick his spots before the snap. And I think that's the kind of system that I think Jones is better suited for. And I think that gets you to where you need to be. If you're going to have the more pocket style quarterback in today's NFL, you need to manufacture space and spread and athleticism pre-snap via formation rather than post-snap via what you're doing schematically with the quarterback and moving the pocket. Like, can you still win with a Mac Jones, with a Joe Burrow? Yeah, you can do that. And in a way, it's sort of a Ziggs versus Zag kind of thing, that we've talked about. But I do think that with Jones, letting him win with his mind and just say, look, we're going to have a pocket for you. Move as need be, because he's very good at creating space with his feet. But win with your mind pre-snap, rather win with moving you around the pocket post-snap. It's just a better fit for him from where I view this offense and from where I view Mac Jones. To his credit, if you think back to the pre-draft process, Ollie, with Mac Jones, it was, he's not that athletic. He's a statue back there. He doesn't really move. How can you win with a guy like that in today's NFL? I think he's shown that he's more athletic than that. How much more? That remains to be seen. Is it athletic enough to run this kind of system, to rely on that? I don't think so.